going to talk through apprenticeships, higher and degree apprenticeships with you this evening. And as Tiago said, please feel free to ask any questions as I go along. So I shall go through this information. Bear me 1 second, sorry. So I'm going to talk a little bit about me, just to let you know my background and why I'm doing this talk for you all this evening. I'm going to talk about degree apprenticeships in general, a little bit of information about funding, because it's all often an area of confusion for a lot of people. And then also just talk about what programmes we have here at the University of Gloucestershire that may be of interest for yourself, colleagues, the company you work for, family members, etc. So I'm Sophie Birch. I've been at the university 16 months now. I'm a client development manager. I specialise in computing and engineering subjects. So I look after cybersecurity, our digital technology solutions, also manufacturing engineering, as well as covering quite a few other programmes for the university. So I've been a business consultant in further education for 11 years now prior to joining the university. So I've got a fantastic job and I really enjoy understanding businesses and contributing to their success by using the apprenticeships fully and ensuring that companies really understand what they can get from an apprenticeship. So what are apprenticeships? There's such a wonderful thing, apprenticeships. It's a great way for people to gain a higher education qualification whilst they are in employment. So earning whilst you're learning. Often people...
Sorry, apologies for interrupting you. Are you able to put on the reading view as we mentioned before?
Has it gone again? There, yeah. There you go. it keeps moving. There we go. Okay. So often people make a mistake and think apprenticeships are for younger people. That is no longer the case. It is a fantastic way of people of all different ages to use an apprenticeship to actually upskill. It's fantastic for career progression for anybody that actually is in employment. Often now an apprenticeship, when it's offered, can be as valuable as a pay rise. So often when we recruit and we advertise for apprenticeship roles, people do apply and they see the apprenticeship as an addition to the pay and the job role they're going into. Something that's fantastic now is apprenticeships are either fully funded by the government if your organisation pays into what's called a Levy account, which I'll come on to later, or they are 95% funded by the government. So it's a great way to actually be able to get continual professional development within your organisation. So I put together a few stats just to give you some information. So 92% of companies have taken on apprentices believe it leads to a much more motivated and satisfied workforce. And 80% of the companies have actually seen a significant increase in employee retention. So it really does help with retaining employees because they are getting invested in by their human resources and then development team. So here are some benefits. So for the employers themselves, the organisations, it is proven to increase productivity. It also increases competitiveness in the workplace and people striving to better themselves and upskill. As I touched on before, it's great for staff retention. It's really good because the employees that are learning are actually putting into practice what they're learning as it actually happens. They're not waiting to get to the end of the qualification. As they're learning, that is put into practice straight away. So also upskilling talent is a really, really good way for employers to look at, rather than sourcing and going out to find somebody new to step into that management role. By offering somebody an apprenticeship, they can actually upskill and progress into that role. So you don't always have to go outside to find new employees. It's really good for business future proofing as well. A lot of companies use it for succession planning and building their talent pipeline of people that are going to come through. And as I said earlier, the cost is actually minimal to none. So there isn't a cost here to employers. For the learners themselves, be it management, be it somebody of a lower level, you actually earn while you're learning. So obviously you're getting paid whilst you're actually learning. There is no great, huge tuition fees. There is no student loans. You're actually acquiring practical and applied knowledge that gets applied into the workforce. You gain a prestigious qualification. And they also, like I said before, provide really good career progression that you may not get if you don't have that opportunity of an apprenticeship. And they literally lead to higher remuneration down the line. And that is actually proven. And we had some statistics on that today from the government. Funding is really confusing. It can be quite tricky for people to realise how they can get access to apprenticeships. So there's two ways of doing it. So companies are either classed now as a levy organisation or non-levy. So if a business has an annual salary pay bill of more than £3 million a year, they basically pay into a government levy. So that money is set aside each month into a levy pot. That money can be drawn down only for apprenticeships. So it only can be used for apprenticeships, not for any other type of training. So it's great money that is set aside each month and put into a company's account to actually be used. Businesses with annual salary pay bills of less than 3 million, they're classed as non-levy, so they do not pay into this levy pot. However, all they'll actually pay is 5% of the cost for the apprenticeship. And then what happens is the providers, so for example, ourselves or other colleges or universities, they will actually draw down the 95% cost from the government to cover that cost. So from that, you'll see the individual themselves doesn't have a cost at all to study and gain a qualification, and the employer is already setting aside that money. That money cannot be used, as I said, for anything other than an apprenticeship. So what happens is very large organisations who have more than the £3 million pay bill are constantly stacking up a lot of levy funds that they themselves cannot spend all at once. So what happens is at the end of every month after 2 years, that money drops away and is wasted basically. So what's happening now, there's a big push now on levy transfer and levy pledges. So this is where basically a very large levy employer can pledge their unspent levy to give to other companies. So basically anybody that's a non-levy company can reach out and ask these companies, will they pay for their staff to do apprenticeships? So we work in partnership with Gloucester County Council on levy pledges, and they, alongside NHS integrated care boards, have actually transferred some of their money to smaller organisations that actually can't afford to pay for those apprenticeships directly themselves as an organisation. So these larger employers are all now coming together with various providers like ourselves to say we want to help for the greater good and actually help upskill other people with apprenticeships. So us at the university, we have lots of programmes that we work on and deliver. Just to give you an idea, we have our Digital Technology Solutions programme. It has 4 pathways. We have network engineer, software engineer, data analyst, and cybersecurity. So you'll see after the first year, they all specialise into their own pathway. So that's extremely popular. We have the cybersecurity technical professional degree, which is a level 6 degree. This is a 3-year programme which does have coursework and exams. It is day release at our Park campus in Cheltenham. And just give you different ideas of the module examples that are covered in this programme. So everything from secure coding to programming, operating systems. And we're really excited because data science launches this year in September, which is a fantastic programme. There's a lot of desire in the market now for data science in organisations, particularly the larger levy paying organisations and public sector bodies. So this is a 3-year programme again with no exams. And you can see the examples of the modules that you will cover, a lot on artificial intelligence, data analytics, big data, etc. So this has caused quite a lot of interest in and around the Southwest currently. So that starts in September. We've also got digital user experience, again, a brand new programme that we're going to be delivering. And that will either be later this year or next year. Again, it's a 3-year programme, and it is one of the latest programmes to be developed to an apprenticeship standard. And it covers everything from mobile design to agile methods. It covers web production, web development, and that's fantastic for anybody particularly that has a website, that has an app, that has customers on, using their services every day. It's about making it a really fantastic user experience for their customers. So we're delighted to be starting that shortly also. As well as the IT and the cyber programs that we offer, we have a lot of other different programs. We do a lot on leadership within organisations. So we have a senior leader program, which is a 2-year program. And at the end of that, you actually get your MBA qualification. We have Chartered Manager, which is a level 6 program. That's a 3-year program. However, we do recognise prior management qualifications and management experience. So that program length can actually be shortened. We have digital marketing. We have Senior Facilities Manager also, which is great. It covers everything now from workplace management to agile working to business continuity planning, sustainability, buying, ethical procurement. And then we move on, we've got manufacturing engineering. That's our level 6 program again, based over in Cheltenham. But we also have various different other programs as well. In architecture, we're launching. We have education, a huge range of programs in health and social care, healthcare science, and also sport. So that's a run through really about the benefits of apprenticeships. Hopefully from this, you'll realise everybody has an opportunity to progress and develop in their own organisation. There's often new opportunities as well, and we offer an early careers service, as do other providers now, whereby you can actually recruit into apprenticeship roles of all levels, even through to sort of senior management level as well. So yes, open the floor to any questions, or if you want any more information, then please do let me know.
Thank you very much, Sophie. I can see it's very informative as well, and I open the floor. I'm sure we can make a very interactive session now. I know Sophie has provided a lot of information about apprenticeships, but I would dare to say that Sophie knows a lot about them in practice as well, and a lot about the experiences that employers and employees have had. And there are so many areas that both employers and employees are trying to grasp and understand on apprenticeships. So we would like to open up the floor for anyone that would like to ask questions, comments, suggestions. Feel free to talk through or ask any questions either via the chat or even opening your mic if you want. While people might be still shy, Sophie, I will start off then. One very interesting. Sorry?
It's a lot of information to take in on apprenticeships.
It is indeed. One very interesting thing, I know you talked about this a little bit, but I think one of the most challenging things for employers in particular, I would say, is the cost, right? You mentioned about the cost, and you said it is minimum to none. I know you presented a couple of things in your presentation, but could you go in a bit more details on what minimum would mean, or none is quickly, but what minimum would be, and how this spectrum kind of behaves in terms of the duration of the course, in terms of other fees and things like that, and the employee salary as well. So could you break down maybe a little bit more for employers how this would reflect?
Yes, definitely. So apprenticeships, it obviously covers a wide area. So salaries vary a lot if you want an apprenticeship, salaries can vary very much depending on where you are, on the company and on the organisation. And basically it's proven that if somebody actually undertakes an apprenticeship, they have between sort of a good percentage range where they actually at the end of the apprenticeship end up on a higher remuneration, a salary and package, because they've demonstrated their commitment to learning, they want to upskill, and it's a very, very good way of moving into a new position with an organisation, with your own organisation. Each single apprenticeship has a cost, so to pay for all the learning and for the times at the universities or providers, there is an apprenticeship cost which has to be paid. it is split out. So for example, if a cost was 24,000, that programme cost is split out over the 3 years, the length of the programme. So the employer would pay that over 3 years from their Levy account. So it's literally divided over 36 months and taken out of their account. If they are a non-Levy in a small organisation with a much smaller pay bill, they will only get billed for 5% of that account, that cost from their account. And then the provider, so us in this case, the University of Gloucestershire, they would then draw down the other 95% direct from the government to cover that cost as well. So it's a great way now of being able to afford apprenticeships. It's also very good for learners to approach their human resources and their learning development teams, either when they're doing appraisals or outside of that, to identify opportunities of how they can use an apprenticeship to upskill themselves within their current role, or as a door opener to move to their next role, basically.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Sophie. Again, the floor is open for anyone that wants to ask questions, again, interact. Feel free to open your mic or drop a question in the chat.
All our programs are different lengths as well. So depending on what you choose to study with a provider like ourselves, they're all of different lengths as well, depending on the actual program of your choice.
Brilliant, David.
Yeah, thank you. That was really interesting. In terms of when you were setting these programs up, did you have to have a sort of critical mass of firms sort of signed up in advance, or was there a way? Was that per course, per program that you were running?
Thank you, Dave. That's a really good question. What we do is I can speak obviously for the university. What we do at the university is when we look at delivering new standards, myself and my colleagues in my business engagement team, our job is to gather market intelligence to see, is there a market for it? Is it something that employers really want? And is it going to be a benefit generally to, your mainstay of a business? So yeah, a lot goes into intelligence prior to that. But also, on the other hand as well, we do have employers that we work with that will ask us, we know this standard is due, it's due out to be delivered, would you consider delivering it? So we have professional boards, we have a business school board, we have a cyber and tech board, etc. And we will go out to our members and ask them to give their thoughts and their feedback as well. So it's very collaborative. We work very collaboratively with all our employers. And it's very much a two-way partnership and discussion about what do you want us to, to deliver, what need you have within your business. And we kind of do like a training needs analysis. So hopefully that.
Yeah, that's really useful. And you mentioned sort of a Southwest focus. So is that your business in terms of the firms you're working with?
We cover nationally. However, we do have a lot of Southwest companies we work with, but we reach out as far as companies in London, up north, Manchester, etc. So we have a wide remit, but we also are very keen on growing a lot more also within the Southwest.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much, David. Again, floor is still open. Anyone wanting to ask more questions? In the meantime, Sophie, I might have another one for you. Can you talk a little bit maybe about the profile of apprentices? What is the common profile, the common type of an apprentice? What do they commonly are? What the different types are, and what different I would say types of apprentices we have, or that are out there.
Definitely more than happy to. So apprentices it's such a wide area now, and it really is fantastic. I think we've got our eldest apprentice, I believe, is 58 that we have studying with us at the University of Gloucestershire. So from that, you'll see there really is no limit to when or how you want to study, and that's something that we've seen across the board. We do an early careers service, and that is generally attracting sort of a younger end, people new leaving school, leaving with A-levels, etc., trying to come into the market and get themselves work. So we do early careers recruitment for that. But all depending on the qualifications that they're choosing to study, like leadership, for example, you do get a lot more sort of more mature professionals in their role that now want to move on to their next level. So it is a complete mixture, but it's fantastic that it opens up so many doors, and it is encouraging people who ordinarily wouldn't have studied later on in life to actually come and study and remove that barrier to learning. One of the things people don't realise is one of the requirements for an apprenticeship is you can demonstrate you have your maths and English certificate at a level 2. So sometimes that puts people off, and they either can't find their certificates or didn't pass however many years ago. That is no longer a barrier to learning. So you know, us, for example, we partner with the adult education in Gloucestershire, and we can put people through what is a shorter version, a functional skills version of maths or English. So if that is holding somebody back to move up within their company, that's when apprenticeship is fantastic. And we facilitate that to help you arrange that. It's not something you have to do yourself either. So we find a lot of people who perhaps stagnated for a while. Now they do their apprenticeship, they study the maths or the English, and then their career really does take off. We get some great stories and sort of profiles of what people have been doing and how their careers have really been helped by an apprenticeship.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Sophie. Just to answer Darren's question, yes, it's being recorded and it will be available in our YouTube channel at a later time, as well as in our BCS Gloss website as well, Darren. Again, the floor is open. Anyone wanting to ask more questions, use this opportunity to ask about, you know, again, apprentices, apprenticeships, programs, feel free to.
I'll ask a question. Thanks for the talk, Sophie. So, of course, an apprenticeship learner is going to be, you know, working full time while also taking on, of course, a degree. That is certainly quite a bit of work. So, just wondering if you can elaborate a bit on the typical support mechanisms that are put in place for apprenticeship learners.
Yeah, definitely happy to. So one thing that we're very, very good at the University of Gloucestershire is we have a fantastic team called Help Zone Team, and their job is to help people to actually, you know, get started with studying and with their apprenticeship. They're really very good at helping you to learn how to study at level 4, how to start referencing, how to study at university level. So you have a lot of support around that. You also have your own, you have a personal tutor who will actually support you in your role and your learning. We have reviews as well. So there's so many set reviews every year to make sure that you, as the professional person, the learner, is actually on track with your apprenticeship and you're not falling behind, to find out any additional support that you may need. It's also fantastic because your employer will find out how you are doing. They can actually ask any questions, and together it's a very much a triangle approach that you're supported right through between the employer, you as your learner, and us at the university, with to ensure you have a really good learner's journey and you enjoy learning with us. And we are there for any additional support that you need while studying, or if a break in learning has to happen, that is all put into process. You know that can actually be put into process for you also. So the whole, you know, sort of support mechanism around you is really, really good. And peer learning is fantastic. We have great cases of peer learning and support for each other, you know, within the groups that are actually learning together and studying at the university. And often they come in and meet up outside of the course lectures and things like that to actually support each other to get through the different modules and the learning that they're actually doing. So it makes learning as an adult, or maybe later on in life, a much more pleasant journey. Thank you, Jordan. I think there's a question in chat, I think.
Yes, Sophie, so we have Jenny asking, do they take BTEC grades as an equivalent to A levels?
So every single person, when you apply to do an apprenticeship, you do a standard application through our university admissions process. So basically, you will apply, you will put down all the qualifications that you hold, and each one is looked at depending on the programme. Each programme has its own set of entry criteria. And that one will get looked at with the academic course leader and our admissions team to make sure you have the entry criteria. So yeah, we look at all prior qualifications. We have a system called APEL, which is Advanced Prior Learning. And that is where, when you're applying online, you will be doing a skills scan, and you will also be listing on there any prior qualifications you have, be it in IT or if it's in management, for example. And we look to see if you will do the whole duration of the programme, or is there part of the programme you don't need to complete because you've already studied and hold those modules. So yeah, so when you actually apply, you will list any BTEC quals you have, any management calls, etc., and that will all be looked at on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you, Sophie. There's also a question from Mary, actually two questions. The first one is this a study and work program? How do students manage the workload? So similar to Jordan's question, but if you want to add on that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Basically, when we're talking to the employer and the person, the employee who wants to do the apprenticeship, we are always very transparent with them. We let them know, obviously, the length of the programme in front, your timetable, your time, required in campus, but we also give you like an indication of it, additional time. So for example, with our senior leader apprenticeship, obviously these are senior professionals in an organisation, but we recommend that people sort of set aside, say, a Sunday morning or a Sunday afternoon, so that you have that time in your own time, in addition to your actual time at campus and any off-the-job training that you also do, just so you realise there is some required time in your personal time as well. But we help manage those expectations when we have a full discussion with you on what the programme is, how it entails, what's expected of you, what's expected of the employer and the manager. And also you will have a mentor in place to support you within your organisation. So all these things are covered up front for you, so you know what support is it and what you personally have to give. Because one thing we fully acknowledge and recognise, everybody that goes upon our apprenticeships, they're higher in degree apprenticeships. They do require commitment and study, and it has to be realistic to fit in with your lifestyle. And we don't want to set anybody up to fail. We want everyone's journey to be a success and a happy story with a qualification at the end of it. So we have those conversations and help you think, is this the right time? And we're very honest and transparent. If we think maybe now isn't the time, but our next cohort probably would be better for you, so that it fits in with what you have planned in your initial future months ahead of you.
Thank you, Sophie. Also from Mary, are these programs only available to UK citizens?
Right, so the apprenticeships, we follow the apprenticeship funding rules from the government. So there are restrictions about who actually can apply and for the programmes, and we have to follow the UK funding rules. So basically, that's something we'd have to look into and follow those rules. But each one is actually looked at to make sure we have to comply, because we can't put somebody onto an apprenticeship if we can't draw the funding down for that programme. So that, again, would be something to come up in conversation at the start, so that we make sure we're only putting people on that we know can get through the programme and will follow the funding rules, basically.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sophie. Anyone else? Feel free again to ask questions, either via chat or open up your mic.
I'm happy to, if anybody wants to get in touch afterwards, you'll see my details. More than happy to have a chat and chat anything through with you, either afterwards, or drop me an email if it's just a generic question for yourself, or perhaps something you want to take back to your employer. Please get in touch and we can discuss further anyway.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Mary just replied saying it sounds like a co-op program they have in Canada, which is quite interesting.
Oh, I can't comment on that. I'm going to look that up though now.
It is quite interesting, yeah. Brilliant. Sophie, I have yeah, another question that usually is quite an interesting one as well. What about learning support in terms of disability, or students that might need some support with dyslexia, dyspraxia, you know, students with those learning needs, and the apprenticeship program, you know, on top of all the pressure and so on. What are your thoughts, your experiences on that as well?
Well, so far from what I can tell, we actually do a lot with this. So when you do your application, you apply to come to us, you go through a numerous amount of questions, and we ask you to detail any additional support that you need and you might help, you know, to help you study with us. And then with the admissions team and help zone, we will look at what needs to be put into place to make sure you have equal access to everything, that you aren't held back by anything, and to make sure that we really fully support you in your journey with us at the university. And all providers will be doing the same thing to make sure there are no barriers in the way to stop people not fully enjoying the apprenticeship experience. But I would just say to anybody is to raise anything. If you think there's any way you need additional support from the outset, then please raise that. And likewise, in the past, I've worked with people who didn't necessarily know they had a disability and struggled with things that then became more obvious as they started to do learning later in life. And, you know, with different organisations, once you raise that, there is the support there and it will be thoroughly looked into. And, you know, the university are very good at that.
That's brilliant, Sophie. Do arrangements like extensions or, you know, support with material is provided as well for those learners?
Yes, so everything, if you need any additional support, if you need extensions to submitting your assignment or uploading any work, for example, that is what the Help Zone team will do. You will be referred to the Help Zone team to actually put all those measures in place for you, so that, you know, it's easy to actually reach out and ask for help and support in the university.
Brilliant, thank you. Again, anyone, feel free. We still have a couple of minutes. If anyone wants to come in again, doesn't need to be a question, or could be a comment. Maybe someone here has experience either, you know, as a student of an apprenticeship, or maybe, you know, as an employer, or maybe offering programs, course. Feel free to share experience, comments. It's all welcome.
I can give you, just as a last thought, is an example. Today we held an event here, a fantastic event, and we had various different speakers, and one was a CEO from an organisation. And the lady it was explaining that it was something she wanted to progress to actually go for the CEO role in her organisation. But by not having done any formal training for a very, very long time since leaving school with A-levels, it was sort of holding her back. And when she wanted to apply for this vacancy, she was told, yes, but you really need to get some senior leadership qualifications. So she said it was very daunting. She came to study with us. And was taught straight away how to study at a university level. She was welcomed very much and supported by her colleagues, and she was taught how to study, how to reference, how to upload work, how to start, you know, balancing her own time. And she said she was given a lot of support and guidance on how to fit in around her working life. She completed her degree with us, her 2-year senior leadership, and she now is the CEO of that organisation and is a great advocate for apprenticeships.
That is brilliant. It's a brilliant success story, and that's very good, Sophie. Thank you very much. Again, any final questions or comments before we close the session? Feel free, anyone. Otherwise, Sophie, thank you very much for your time, for the presentation. Again, it's something quite interesting. I didn't know there was a similar thing in Canada, but to me, you know, it was an amazing thing when I found out about the apprenticeship program. It's such an amazing experience, and we can clearly see the benefits, you know, both for employers and employees. And then it's quite interesting how both young people and, you know, older adults, you know, or employees that are working in the same job for a while can upskill themselves. It's really, really good. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sophie. So we thank you for the presentation. And I just would like to echo Sophie's words in terms of you have Sophie's contact details on screen right now. feel free to email or contact Sophie if you have any other questions or you would like to follow up on the topic. I'm sure Sophie will be more than happy to answer, reply, and engage with any of you.
Yeah, thank you very much, all of you, and I hope you have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much, Sophie. As I mentioned before, it will be recorded and be available